Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of We Are McGill Social Work. We are with the team from the MSc CFT, the School of Social Work, and we're on episode 10. And today I have special guests today. Again, my name is Alice Ishimwe. I forget to introduce myself many times. I'm a student in the BSW in my last year, and I have here Patty Tarica, Kae Parker, and Professor Heather McIntosh from the program, the Masters of Science Applied in Children and Couple and Children and Fam. Wow, I'm going to butcher it many times, but they will have me correct. They're the experts in this program. So welcome to the team. I wonder if you want to go around and tell us a little bit about yourself. I usually go from the squares of Zoom. So next to me is Patty. Do you want to go?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So my name's Patty Tarica. I'm the administrative assistant for the Master of Science Applied in Couple and Family Therapy program.
There you go.
So
say it without a hinge.
I have practice. So I've been working at McGill for well over 25 years, and I joined the School of Social Work in 2014 when the program began. So I've been with the program right from the start. My role is, in addition to the administrative responsibilities, I basically oversee the student life cycle. So everything from admissions to course registration, to monitoring student progress, internship coordination, approving graduation. So that's basically the summary of my day-to-day with the program.
Oh, great. Thank you, Patty. You hold the key to many doors, I must say. Next is Kay.
Hi, my name is Kay, and I'm a current student in the Masters of Science Applied in Couple and Family Therapy. So I started the program just last September 2021. My background is as an art therapist, so I already hold a master's in art therapy, and I've been practicing individual art therapy as well as working with groups, and really came into this master's to focus more on being able to do couple and family intervention.
Thank you for joining us. We'd love to hear from the students. So much. Last but not least, Professor Heather.
Hey, yes, so I'm the current director of the MSCA, and I came to McGill in 2011. I'm a psychologist, and I did my doctoral research on couple therapy with trauma survivors. And so I've continued that work through my time at McGill and developed more hopefully effective, but also tolerable approaches to working with couples dealing with complex trauma. And I teach the Introduction to Practicum course, which is the sort of first clinical skills course. And I teach an internship course where students observe me doing therapy with a couple dealing with complex trauma in a research context. And I also teach the advanced couple therapy course. And we do as many creative, fun things as we can to make those courses feel alive and exciting. And I also try to work with Patty to keep the ship afloat. There's a lot of moving parts, and so we are very busy.
Thank you. I've had the pleasure of hearing you talk in one of the Field Fridays, and it was very eye-opening how you approach trauma counseling. For me, I felt like I had more questions at the end of the talk, so I'm glad that we're here. I mean, even though we're not talking about trauma specifically, but I know that you have a wealth of knowledge to pour into the students and to people you encounter, you would like to say. So today we're going to start with Professor Heather. If you can tell us more about the program, the students you're looking for, what goes on over there, and then after that, yeah, tell us a little bit. Let us in. And then after we hear from Kay, where to confirm that experience is true. I'm just kidding. We want to hear your experience as a student in the field and how your getting excited for maybe graduation next year. And then we'll end with Patty to tell us if students are ever interested in this, what are the steps to get in? What is it that they need to consider? What are they going to submit to you when they apply? So the MSCA CFT, what is it? When did it start? I understand it's not only social workers in the program. Why was there a reason why that we are combining fields, and what does that bring into the skills that the students are graduating with?
I think we're really lucky in a way to be in an environment where we are attracting students from diverse fields, because it creates such a vibrancy in our classrooms. We have, like Kae, we have a number of creative arts therapists. We've attracted students from music therapy, art therapy, drama therapy, and they come with incredible clinical skills, but also a ton of creativity for obvious reasons. We also, of course, encourage our students from the social work department to come along and join us as well. But we also have students coming from psychology, occupational therapy, other human sciences. We've had students come from psychiatry and medicine. Am I missing anything, Patty?
Nursing,
Nursing.
sexology, counseling. Yeah, I think you've covered the key ones.
So the students come with a background in human sciences and a background in some clinical work, preferably with couples and families. So to join the program, students already come with a lot of experience. Most students come with an MSW or a master's degree from another kind of therapeutic training program. So a master's in educational counseling, or master's in psychotherapy, or master's in creative arts therapy. So they're joining the program usually already very skilled and already very ready to take in these new ideas. And so we're kind of bringing together this diverse and cool and interesting creative group of humans who are just ready to work more systemically. So we're often taking folks who've done tons of work in the community, and we're adding the couple family systemic lens to that work and really expanding. And so over the course of the 2 years, for those who come in with not having done the McGill MSW, over the course of those 2 years, the first 2 terms are really focused on building that systemic library of thought, learning how we think systemically and working with couples and families. And then internship starts in that May for those who come into the 2-year program. And the internship then follows the students all the way along for the rest of the program as they pick up more and more classes. So the goal is that as we add more of the classroom learning, that the internship is running parallel, and those are kind of really feeding each other, how practice is informing theory and theory is informing practice. And students do have some choices about where they do their internship. And then we tie it together with what's called the didactic seminars, where students then come together to integrate that connection between classroom learning and internship with community, their community of their colleagues within the internship, and with a prof who basically helps them pull the pieces together. So we're building that systemic lens, and we're building on the clinical skills we already have. And so lots of our students will come in with a strong background in working in community practice. They want to go out to community practice, but they want to do that with a systemic lens. So they'll do their internship in a community setting, where they're then adding that couple and family piece to their clinical work. Does that sort of answer that question?
Yes, thank you. So then once they graduate, where are they expected to work as a therapist? Like what happens after? Like why would I want to enroll in the program?
Where do you end up?
Where do you end up?
Well, the end product, when you graduate, you have this master's in science applied, and our students are fast-tracked for licensure as couple and family therapists and psychotherapists. So when they graduate, they receive, after applying and doing all the things, they are eligible to be licensed both as couple and family therapists and psychotherapists. So often they come in with, as in the case of Kae, they come in with the creative arts therapy sort of lens, and then we add these other lens, the psychotherapy and the couple and family therapy. And so depending on what your home license is, whether it's social work or nursing or even occupational therapy, that's your sort of home license, and you add these other two on top. So depending on where your initial background might be, that changes the trajectory for your employment. Our students are picked up within minutes of graduating. Many are picked up before they graduate. There's a very high demand in public and private sector for psychotherapists and couple and family therapists. I don't know of any of our students who've ever struggled for more than a minute to be employed. I would say that a majority of them, and Patty, you can correct me if you think I'm a little off there, but I think a majority of them do a little bit of part-time practice in private settings, and then they also do some community or hospital or working in the CUs. Many of them like the balance between having a public setting position where they're providing couple and family services within a hospital or a community setting, and then they do a little bit of private practice. Does that fit with what? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so we hear from our alumni, and many of them have blended both the private and public, and they've done so very nicely. So that's a lot of them, our graduates, how they're employed at the moment.
Doubt. I can't even speak to the need that is out there for psychotherapists and counseling. Done. Especially after the pandemic, everybody needs one. Everybody needs you guys.
Yes, it's been a mental health crisis. The pandemic has exposed existing gaps in service availability and accessibility. And so it's exposed what was already there and then accentuated and really brought to a climax those critical gaps in accessibility. And so I think that's why many of our students are quite committed to keeping some aspect of their work life in the public sphere so that they're providing services within the system that exists. But of course, there's also some fun in doing private practice. You can really shape the clientele you want to work with. You can create a practice that really reflects some of your particular areas of expertise. And of course, financially, it's a little more fun than the public system. So to have a balance has, I think, for many of our students been really positive.
So, Master's of Science and Applied in CFT. I guess science. Why is it in social work now? Why does it have a school of social work? How did that happen?
I think that's a very complicated question, and it goes back a long way. But family and couple therapy have been very much a part of the McGill social work world going many years back. The reason it ended up being a master's in science applied was because we wanted an applied degree. So we wanted it to really reflect the clinical nature of the training. And an MA is quite a generic label. So the MSCA was the chosen label because it reflects more the intensity of the clinical and applied skill set. So we came to social work for a number of reasons, but primarily because couple and family therapy has historically had a home in the School of Social Work. If you go up to educational counseling, you'll find one or two people who maybe do a bit of couple work, but family therapy is very unusual to find in a counseling setting, maybe in a psychology setting, but also the people who were really spearheading the development of the program were also social workers.
So how do graduates from the MSCA applied CFT compare to students who are graduating from, I think McGill has a clinical psychology master. How do they differ in the workplace? Are they the same, or is it just the CF part that differentiates them from us? How?
The clinical psychology department at McGill has a terminal doctorate, which means you come into the program with a bachelor's degree and you continue through your master's and into your doctorate. Very rarely do people graduate with a master's degree, and it's generally because something happened in their lives and they're leaving the program before they're done. Our degree is a terminal degree, so you come to our program with the goal of having a master's degree. At a licensing level, our students are licensed as psychotherapists as opposed to psychologists. And it's really about the nature and the focus of the work. Our graduates are focused on intervention. Of course, they're very skilled in assessment, but the focus is on intervention and the focus is on systemic work through a systemic lens. As opposed to psychology, where there's a greater focus on assessment, and the intervention lens is quite different. It's much more individually focused. Although I'm a psychologist and my training was very couple and family focused, that was because I made very specific choices within my training to seek those out. They weren't sort of on the menu. I had to seek them out. And I wanted to become a social worker, but I wasn't accepted.
Really?
So this is what happened.
I was going to see if we can change gears a little bit to you to say who's Professor Heather McIntosh. You've said a couple of times that you're not a social worker, you're a psychologist. What else can we know about you and your career, how did you end up here in being the director of this program? What have you done before and things that you have contributed to?
That's a very big question, so I'll try to be brief. I'm actually a musician first, which is why I am very much in love with our creative arts therapy students, and probably had a program like theirs existed when I was in my 20s, that's what I would have done, but it didn't exist. So I was a musician first, a classical singer. And due to an accident, I had to stop singing professionally. And I really had a hard time figuring out what I wanted to do, because I wanted to find something that felt like it had the same kind of passion, same kind of oomph. And I literally tried almost every other career that was out there. And I was teaching singing to pay the bills for my 2 young children in a church that I was singing in professionally, but not in the same way. And I ended up somehow, perhaps the universe was sending me little messages, but I ended up teaching singing to a lot of adults who'd experienced a lot of trauma. And so I was working with these folks and trying to help them release some of the stuck spots that I was experiencing as I was listening to them, and trying to help them find a way through the things that were very locked up. And as I was doing that sort of intuitively, physically, emotionally, things would come out. And there I am in this singing lesson with people, having these massive emotional responses, having traumatic memories come out. And I realized that this was fascinating, but also I didn't know what I was doing. So I thought, this could be not such a good thing, because you sort of think, well, what might I might hurt somebody. So I went back to school to study music and psychology, because music therapy as it exists now did not exist then, thinking that I would melt the two. And then became really swept away by the very exciting evolution and revolution that was happening in the trauma world, and was finding myself just swept away by the research that was happening in clinical trauma work, and ended up then doing my doctoral work, working with trauma survivors at Ottawa U with Sue Johnson, who's like one of the gurus in the couple therapy world. And it was from there that I became really, I'd never even thought of an academic life before this, but I became fascinated by how our clinical work connects to our teaching, and how our teaching connects to our research, and how the three work together. So I'll see a couple in my private work, and something really interesting will happen, and that will come up in the classroom, and we will explore it. And then that sort of makes, oh, well, in the model, we need to sort of add that thing, and then we'll explore that. And then the students come to work on the model, and we work in the research together. And there's just something so alive about how the three come together. And so that was sort of how my passion for the academic life grew out of music, basically. Music is where everything begins for me. And so when this position was posted in 2011 for this program, because the tenure track position had to be filled before we could get the program approved. So when I read the ad for this job, I was awake the entire night thinking, that's my job. And I applied, and then I actually forgot that I'd applied, because I figured, that's not going to happen. And then it happened. So I've been here for 11 years now, and we had to rebuild, sort of build this program and create it and get it approved, and then we've launched it, and it's been really exciting. And I just love the multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary nature of the student body and us as faculty, working together, bringing together these diverse perspectives. It's very alive and very rich.
Stories, but not that one. Music and trauma counseling and therapy, clinical practice all together in one. That's I'm just imagining like a beautiful bouquet of different flowers. So thank you for sharing that with us. We'll go to the others, but I wanted to also hear more a little bit later on what you have enjoyed since 2011 in the program. But I'm thinking maybe we should shift to Kae to hear how they have experienced the program, and what are the exciting things that they have seen, or what the not so exciting things, the challenging. I know school is challenging as much. Rewarding as it is and passionate, it's still a school. So Kae, what do you have for us? How has it been since you were here?
Yeah, well, I think actually to continue off of something that Heather's really been highlighting about the program, something that I find so enriching and really engaging about being a part of a cohort studying couple and family therapy is that we're all entering with different backgrounds, but already with clinical experience. And so it becomes a group of peers that we really can share knowledge from each other and really grow together in the course of this program, and also maybe be shaping more the directions we're going, integrating this new systems theory, but already having a clinical background. It feels different than doing a first graduate degree for me in my experience. And I also really appreciate that, we're here to learn intervention. That's why it's an applied program, and we're really looking for and honing in on those clinical skills. And so I appreciate that the faculty also have that as a part of their ongoing experience. I think it's meaningful to me that faculty aren't just researchers, they're also clinicians and know what it's like to be in the room face to face with a couple or a family and are sharing that experience with us. I'm sorry, Elisa, I couldn't catch the start of your question. I'm not sure if there was a sound problem on my end.
Technology is trying to fail us, but no. I was asking how we're refusing that it cuts us up. I was asking how you ended up here. How did you think of applying? Where were you coming from? I know you mentioned before, but I was wondering if you could elaborate.
Yeah, so certainly I didn't initially think that couples and families would be something that was so engaging to me when I decided that I wanted to be a clinician, when I knew that I wanted to pursue a career in mental health. I was really looking for the bridge of creativity and well-being. That's why I pursued art therapy, but a particular population that's really close to my heart and where a lot of my experience is in working with trans youth, trans and non-binary teenagers. And this has been really important work to me, really meaningful work, both individually and in small groups. And I felt like there's, only so much I can do in forwarding and foregrounding the well-being of trans youth if I'm not talking to their parents. And if I'm not able to have the skills to really work with families and help promote acceptance, education, and all of these skills that can help a family welcome their youth and move forward together in the interest of their well-being. And so this being work that I'm passionate about doing and see myself continuing a career into the future, this program really became a place where I could hone some of those skills and gain from the experience as well of many of the faculty in this department who also have experience working with queer couples, with trans families, and are researching these topics.
I seem to have lost your voice, Elise.
Just a little.
Okay. Try this again. Can you hear me now? Okay. Okay, great. I was just saying that thank you for sharing that, because I think that's a very particular way of wanting to apply your skills as a clinician. And I could think of different programs or where I have been where those skills will be needed, and people like you will be needed to bridge the gap between the parents and the youth. So now, Patty, I know you've been with the school for a few years now. What have you seen as you receive those applications? Can you tell us a little bit more about how passionate it is? I'm sure there's parts of the job that are quite interesting as well. And also maybe a little bit on the logistics, like how many students come into the program each year? What do they need other than the things that are described on the website? I'm sure you work in collaboration with Professor Heather to make those admissions. What is it that you can share with the public?
Sure. So it's always wonderful to see all the exciting applicants that we receive. People have such an interesting variety of backgrounds, and it's, I think, very enriching to the pool of students that we admit every year. We do receive well over 50 applications every year. The applications are reviewed thoroughly by the department, by the program, by an admissions committee as well. And so basically, we're looking for individuals who have really strong clinical experience, who have a passion and a motivation for pursuing a career with working with couples and families. And so very simply through the application, that is really what we're looking to see above all the other requirements. The admissions committee really wants to to be able to see come through, to shine the reasons why they want to become a couple and family therapist. So that's the key element to, I think, someone's application.
Mm-hmm. How about when it comes to field placement? Does that go through you? Does that go to Heather? Where I know Heather mentioned that the students can go anywhere, like the different field placements they can end up in. Where, for example, are they usually?
So for the internships themselves, I'm pretty much looking after the logistics side of things. We welcome all student input in terms of where they'd like to pursue an internship, but we do have pre-selected, vetted sites with supervisors who meet the requirements of the professional orders to provide supervision. So it is something we do collaboratively. We consult with the students, but we have a selection of sites we have in place already for students to choose from, who we know are able to provide the clinical hours and the training, and who are being able to provide supervision for the students. It's important that any and all internships really fulfill the requirements that they'll need once they graduate to apply for their permits.
Okay. Is this where the Jewish hospital will be as well? If I remember correctly, there are some students who are placed there.
Yes, it's one of our sites. It is one of the sites, and they have several departments that offer internships to the students. But we also have other sites. I'm thinking of the MUHC with child psychiatry and psychosocial oncology. We also have CUSs that are providing the CLSC's sites, and we consult with them every year to see who's able to take a student. So that could vary from year to year, who's open to taking a student. We have students who have gone to placements at agencies such as OMETS as well. We have some students working with, I think, with Dr. MacIntosh through her couple clinic over at McGill University. So there is quite an array of sites that students can consider. And we are always open to discussing possibilities of looking into new opportunities as well, and developing and expanding on our internships.
Okay, sounds good. And when it comes to application, the deadlines are usually around the same master's programs, December?
Yes, so September 15 is when the graduate application opens, and December 15 is when the application closes. That's the deadline for the applications.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Now I wanted to ask Professor Heather what you have enjoyed in the program. Mostly if you can tell us a little bit more about, I know putting a program together and having it approved is a lot of work, and I'm sure it has some fun sides and not so fun sides, but when it comes to the students or to what you see the product of the work that you've put in come in, what aspects can you share with us that have been fulfilling? You know, I can tell that you have a lot of passion for the program. I can tell that you were, you know, even to see a job posting and feel like you were destined to be there, that speaks a lot to how you are connected to the job, or not just, you know, any particular job. So I wonder if you can let us in a little bit on the things that make your heart warm when you see the students graduate through the program.
You know, again, that's such a big question, but and this sounds a bit corny, but I do fall in love with every one of them because they all bring something so rich and beautiful. They bring themselves, and they bring their passion and their excitement, and we get to watch them over 2 years go through it's intense. This is not an easy program. It's your shoulder to the stone the whole time. And we watch a real beautiful transition from anxious and fearful, but excited, to calm, confident, and ready. And right now, as Patty mentioned, I have interns working with me in a clinic that does a lot of the research on couples and trauma. And I have this group of students who are about to graduate in a month, and they're running these groups as part of my research. And I watch the groups, and every time I'm watching, I'm just like, wow, how did they become so amazing? Because they're amazing. And so, well, of course, I feel proud. I feel proud. But I also just feel like it's such a beautiful transformation. And a lot of that is about this. It's about the cohort. A lot of it's about things we have no control over. It's about how they, as a group, support and care for each other. And, you know, they're there for each other. And you know, there are 3 of us who are core faculty. And then there's a whole group of sessionals and adjuncts who are, you know, really committed to this, the program and the students. And it's just beautiful to watch them as they grow and change, and to, you know, to have the privilege of watching them do therapy and just think, yes, that I would never have thought of that. Why did they think, oh, that's amazing? I would not have done that so well. Or right now I have a group of them who are observing me see a couple, very, very, you know, lots of trauma. And I rely on them, because when we're finished that session, they give me feedback and we talk about what's going to happen next. And they have grown from beginning therapists to growing into being colleagues. And, you know, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, thank you. I can tell you that in my educational journey, the professors that speak like you are the ones whose content that I even connect to. Like when we have professors who are able to connect with us on a level that we can tell that they're passionate about what they're teaching us, it makes a huge difference in the education, in school being less hard, and also in the content that we're learning being more impactful and staying. You know, we can read as many articles as possible, but if I'm going to debrief that with a professor like you, if it makes me, it's going to stick and it's going to stay. So thank you for being passionate about your students. I'm sure they appreciate. Do you agree, Kae? Does that
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I was wondering also if you can tell us, Kae, about what you have enjoyed in the program, if there are things that stuck out to you, maybe even from your previous educational journey. What have you seen, anything that is different from that aspect in this program?
Well, I think it is exciting that this program, you know, has been around only for 10 years, which means that it has been responsive and adaptive. And I think I have to thank generations of students who've gone through the program before me for encouraging and really motivating that continued adaptation, so that the program looks different now than it did a decade ago. And I think I'm enjoying the benefits of their advocacy and that work. For me, really, I'm, you know, not quite halfway through, so I can't say what's the best part of the program as a whole, but I'm really grateful to my cohort. I have some really amazing peers and colleagues, and connecting with them has been the highlight for me.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you. Patty, what is the one thing you can tell us that has been so fulfilling?
It's been exciting to see the program, as Kae mentioned, just sort of evolve, and how we've gotten better to responding to students and helping support them through their journey in the program. And so we can really assure them that they belong in the program when they're accepted. They've you know, they've shown that they have a right to be there, meeting all of the really requirements of being admitted. And by the time they graduate, they really have like really exceptional futures ahead of them, and they can be very proud of that. And I think that makes us feel really proud to see them go out into their profession and represent us. And everyone seems to really acknowledge their training, their clinical skills, and the work that they've done within the program. So that's really been a joy to see transform over the last few years.
And when you said something about being aware of what the alumni are doing and whether they have private practice or public, I think it speaks to how you are in touch with the students and continue to see them grow. So that's a very important part of the people that we work with, to be able to know, hey, where is so-and-so? Where did they end up at? So that's remarkable. Thank you. And I know as we wrap up the conversation that you're not social workers, but you are still finding home in the School of Social Work. But I was wondering if you can tell me in under 30 seconds or 1 minute, what you think a good social worker is. So you can take it to maybe one you've met, one you think is great, or one you aspire to see if you've encountered students in the School of Social Work or social workers in general. Yeah, let's go with Kae first.
Ooh, okay. Well, I think, what I admire about the profession of social work is that it doesn't take for granted that the individual is an individual. It always looks at the systems around them. So I think what makes a good social worker is someone who's not only considering context, but advocates for social justice.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Ooh, you hit many important points. Professor Heather?
Well, I was going to say what Kae said. I do think that is it. Training in an environment where the individual is the focus, and pathology can be damaging. Situating the problem within the person is my training, and I didn't like it then. And then coming to a School of Social Work, and of course, because our program hadn't started when I was hired, it took 3 years before we launched the program. So I was teaching in social work for the first 3 years, and I was probably learning more than the students were. And it was really eye-opening for me to realize how much my embedded biases, regardless of my conscious perspective, because I would have told you that my conscious perspective was that an individual is always embedded in a system and social justice is part of our work. I would have said that, but realizing that at an embodied level, I had a lot of this individually focused, the problem is in the person stuff. And so social work has made me a better human being.
Oh, thank you. How about you, Patty?
Well, I always tell people before I joined the School of Social Work, I didn't know very much about the profession. So I've really learned a lot about the valuable work being done in communities and just, everywhere in society, we see social workers having such an important role in helping just across the board, and it's been an eye-opener for me and to take notice of the importance of social workers that we have supporting us in all aspects of our life. So very grateful to to all of the great work being done.
Great, thank you. Oh, it's been amazing hearing you all talk. I am in awe of anyone who's a clinician who's trying to be one. I think I shy away a little bit from that aspect because of many things that make me who I am, but I have so much respect for clinicians who are able to dig up things with people and help them get somewhere. So, and from this conversation, I feel less intimidated by the MSCA CFT program. And now look at me, I'm talking about it now without trembling, and I'm so proud that it's housed in the School of Social Work as well. It seems more accessible to us. And for anyone who's listening, you've heard from the experts, apply if you're interested, if you have the skills or the passion and the qualifications. And if you're still working on it, then work on it until you do. And now that you know that we have amazing people in the program who are committed to the growth and for where you're going after, and who are looking at application, tearing up with the things that you're sharing. So thank you, Professor Heather McIntosh. Thank you, Kae Parker and Tarica for joining us for the podcast today. And have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.